Warning, the following episode of the Blackwell podcast contains spoilers from all episodes of Life is Strange.
Hey everyone, welcome to Blackwell Podcast, where we love Life is Strange more than Warren loves weird science. Today I have with me Joey.
Hello.
And Jamie.
Hello.
And I am Aaron. Jamie, do you want to tell everybody what we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, sure. Today's been, this episode's kind of been a little bit of a long one coming because we didn't take it seriously the first time.
Yeah.
So, we're going to put a little bit more of a serious tone on this episode by talking about Warren.
Yeah.
Doing a little bit of a Redux with him.
So, yeah, we spent, our last episode about Warren, which was, almost 2 years ago now?
Almost a year ago. Actually, it was a year ago.
I have absolutely no concept of time anymore.
No.
I didn't even know it was June.
Yeah. You've been rewinding too much.
Yep, that's right.
Anyway, point being, we did that episode where we just did nothing but, roast Warren. And
It was kind of like an intentional April Fool's episode, so...
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
I remember now. We did it. It was a Valentine's Day episode.
Oh, that makes it worse.
Oh, wow. No,
So-
I was going to say better.
We should have done a Pricefield episode or something like that, and then taken the Warren episode seriously. But you live, you learn, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
hindsight's 2020.
yep. So, Warren Daniel Graham. Let's talk about him. Let's talk about our boy here.
Man.
We first meet him in episode 1.
Yes. We kind of get a text from him just saying, hey, give me my flash drive back.
Yeah, so Max has actually interacted with him prior to our taking the reins of Max, and he he's really warmed up to her, and I guess hangs out with her a lot. And he gives her a flash drive that has a bunch of movies on it. I think I'm trying to remember the what is it? Go Pussycat, Kill Kill, or Faster Puss?
Yeah.
Yeah, faster.
Which I haven't watched.
Neither have I.
I know
Oh,
it's
I
a
didn't know it was
classic,
real.
but- Yeah, it's a real movie.
That's
And
awesome.
then it had Cannibal Holocaust on it, which I also have not watched and probably don't care to.
Also had Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's awesome. I didn't realize that.
Well, you know what? Let's just go through. We'll just go through the list. It had Doctor Who, The X-Files, Full Metal Alchemist, Faster Pussycat, Kill Kill, like we said, Akira, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Cannibal Holocaust,
Yes.
Beneath the Valley of the Ultra Vixens, which I've never heard of. That's some deep cut cult classic.
It's like title or something. It's like an indie movie or something.
Yeah.
And then Necromantic, and I have absolutely no idea what the fuck Necromantic is. But,
No.
Yeah, don't really want to know.
but we know that a lot of that was Christian's doing, and he has quite the affinity for the old cult classics. So
I love that he put Scott Pilgrim in there. That makes me so happy.
it's such a good movie.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen it in a long time. I should probably rewatch it again sometime. Just
You
trying to
should.
remember what happened.
It's great. It's a very quotable movie. My buddy and I quote it all the time.
Have you read the comics?
A little bit, yeah. Not really in depth.
Man, the comics are really amazing too.
Yeah, I saw the movie before the comics, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah, actually, like the comics were still being written. Like the ending hadn't been finalized for the comics when the movie came out. So there's the disconnect comes from that.
Game of Thrones style.
But we're not doing a podcast on Scott Pilgrim.
No, we're not. Back to
If you want to hear one, like, comment, subscribe.
I could definitely talk about it for a while,
I couldn't.
Yeah,
let's talk
just
about
give us all your upvotes and.
So yeah, Warren. What a nerdy guy.
He is, yeah. He's your very typical
like cliche geek.
Yeah. You know, he fits that archetype. He is that trope. Of course, we delve into him more, just like we do with everybody, but he is that. He's 16 years old when the game takes place. And he's actually one of the youngest students at the school, but he's like really good with math and science.
Yeah. I also feel like he is geeky, but he's sort of like king of the geeks. You know, like I feel like they all like sort of look up to him. I don't know, that's the impression I get.
Is it kind of like that kid from Recess who just sits in the chair all the time?
Man, it's been a minute since I've watched Recess.
I don't even remember what the kid. I think it was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Whoops. Well, I guess don't reference something if you can't remember the fucking kid's name.
It's like King Bob or something. Anyways, we're going on another tangent. But yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want you to understand. Like, he's kind of like he's friends with everybody in like the kind of the geek clique.
Mm-hmm. He's really good friends with Kate, with Alyssa, with Brooke. Which Brooke actually fancies him quite a bit, which we'll get into. And he is good friends with Max too. I mean, the player can decide how they treat Warren, if they, kind of pursue that a little bit, or keep him, just as a friend, or completely ignore him. The choice is the players. So we kind of get. I guess our first big impression is where Nathan is talking to Max. Talking is an understatement, but where he is accosting Max about the incident in the bathroom, and Warren steps in. But I feel Warren on I kind of like cringed from like being there and feeling like the awkwardness and having that when like before Nathan comes up and he goes for the hug and Max just kind of
oh my gosh, dude, yeah, I know.
I was like, oh boy, I was like, oh man, I feel you, dude.
I've literally done that to people, and it's it's even more painful to be there.
Yeah, so if anyone tries to hug you, just go in for the handshake, apparently.
Yep. And then you end up with this weird, like, just amalgamation.
You gotta play it off as you're stretching. Just like, oh, yep, good stretch.
Yep.
It's like, hey, Max, look how wide my arms can go.
Because that's obviously better than just saying you were going in for a hug.
It's so hard. It's like you realize that everybody does awkward shit like that. Like there's barely anyone alive who doesn't at some point do some like awkward, misinterpreted shit like that. But it's so hard, like when you're in the moment, to not make it even more awkward by like acknowledging the awkwardness. And it's just like, you could just move on. You're just like, well, yeah, that happened, but whatever. Laugh it off, maybe. But like, especially when you're at that age, God knows, like doing something awkward and then like, oh god, that sure was awkward, huh?
I think like
just being like the guy from The Simpsons.
I think like one of the worst things that could happen is you experience the awkwardness. You realize, wow, that kid did that something really awkward, and then immediately realize you've done that before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you kind of relate to them. It's like, oh fuck, that's kind of like how I felt with Warren for that like part of it. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's like when somebody asks you like, who do you relate to? It's like you don't want to admit it. Like,
yeah,
everybody wants to say like, oh yeah, I'm like the protagonist because I fancy myself as like a hero, blah blah blah. But nobody wants to admit they're Warren.
And I think a lot of like disdain for him comes from he's just that part of us that we don't like, that we saw in ourselves that we just like don't like. But he means well. He's a pretty good boy.
He's a good boy. Well, the thing about him is that I think he's a little he's a little too assertive. Yeah, pushy. Yeah. He like we talked about it before, but like he means well. He's not trying to be an ass or anything, but he's not quite there yet. He is 16 years old. He's still figuring himself out, but he's like overcompensating, and so of course he's gonna make social faux pas and do stupid stuff. It just happens.
Yeah, I feel like the best way to describe Warren, in my opinion anyway, is he kind of reminds you of the phase you were in like high school that you don't want to really remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
But still, I mean, kind of like defines on who you are, so you kind of just gotta accept it.
But I do I think it serves him well because he doesn't like second guess things a whole lot, like when right. Nathan is accosting Max in the parking lot, he doesn't think twice about like shoving him and getting in a scrap with him just to defend her honor, basically.
Yeah, I do have to hand it to him on that. Not that Max needs to be saved, but that he would actually his friends.
Yeah, I did want to talk about that part actually, but we can get into it later.
So he gets headbutted by Nathan, which gives Max the chance to get in Chloe's truck, as they go away. And that's really all we see of him in episode 1, other than text messages.
Yeah. It seems like that's the main communication that you really get from Warren, is just through text messages, like every episode.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with that. Yeah. Probably like the biggest, like the most memorable text I get is when you're walking up up to the lighthouse in episode 1, and you get the picture of him with a black eye, just like giving a thumbs up and everything.
Yeah. His I don't even know what you'd call it. His badge of honor, I guess.
Yeah.
Black eye.
Hey, look what I did for you.
And then episode 2 is where we start to see a little bit more of him.
Yeah, and this is kind of where it comes up to the more decisive part of Life is Strange revolved around Warren's character as well. We start making decisions about him.
Yeah, so you get the opportunity, the invitation is extended to go with him to see Planet of the Apes at a drive-in. And what did you guys do on your first playthrough?
I actually did accept, and this was before I had started the game from the beginning, so I kind of jumped in. But my brother and my friend were there, and I remember I was during that sequence, I was making the decisions. He was like, "Dude, do it! Go with Warren," because he was a big fan of him, I guess. So I think it was somewhat power of suggestion, but yeah, I didn't regret it. So.
What about you, Jimmy?
I said no. I'm guessing it was kind of kind of going back to saying about how I kind of relate to him. It's yeah, I kind of just wanted to forget about you. I just want to go on with the game, please. No thanks. But yeah, that was my initial impression. Obviously, it's somewhat changed now since I last spoke about Warren. I probably would accept, maybe, if I was feeling generous.
Well, no, I think it's cool. Well, go ahead, Joey.
Well, I was just gonna say I did accept, But to me, in my mind, it was just like, yeah, I'll go hang out with you. I don't see any reason why I won't hang out with you. It didn't register to me as it being like a date. It was just go hang out with them.
Yeah, I actually think it's interesting because like for me it was like obvious. It was like, okay, well, I don't want to be a jerk. Like, you know, what's the harm in doing it? But it's like, you know, if that was real life and you like thought somebody was really into you and you didn't want to lead them on, then I don't know. I probably would have gone with Jamie. Like, you know, just don't play any games. Just let them know you're not interested.
Plus, this when he asked you, it was like immediately after you had that conversation with Kate. So that's kind of like where I had my mind focused at the time.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a big factor. It was like, well, no, I'm a bit busy.
Yeah.
I want to protect the bun.
Precious.
So if you decline it, he says that he'll go by himself, but then also he invites Brooke. And there's like the weird like Brooke is so damn jealous of Max over Warren. And so there's just an interesting love triangle going on there. Meanwhile, Max is just snooping through shit and falling in love with Chloe. But yeah, so after that, I think the next interaction we have with him is we can go help him with the science experiment.
That's that late? Jeez. Yeah. Yeah,
I think it is.
So he's doing this science experiment, and you can make it blow up in his face and then get a picture.
Wait.
Which I did. What?
Wait, isn't it when you do the right thing, you get the picture?
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was thinking. Well,
I just want a picture of his
I know.
face.
I did, like, haha. Look what I told you to do. You blew yourself up. Yeah, I guess that doesn't make much sense, huh? So yeah, you tell him to do the right thing, which you have to initially get it wrong, and then go talk to
Miss Grant.
Yeah. And then
I love that sequence though, because it wasn't so much about helping Warren as it was for me. It was more about like it felt like the typical adventure game, like lock and key puzzle. It's like, okay, well that didn't work. Like, so what do you go and do from here? Like, I love stuff like that, so I had to see it through.
I honestly didn't know about this until my second playthrough of the game.
Really?
Oh, not at all.
Yeah, because how?
Well,
how
I guess you wouldn't go back there, you know, for any other.
You don't even have to go there. Like, it's not.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that kind of caught me off. Like, that kind of made me realize in the second playthrough, like, oh shit, you can actually go in here. It's because as soon as you go through Blackwell Academy, you turn. I spoke to Courtney, then spoke to David, but as soon as like you see the door to the science classroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can see Jefferson and Kate talking at the very end of the hallway, and that's kind of like where my attention went to.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So, like, since all the stuff with Kate was happening beforehand, I was like, I want to check in on Kate, see how she was doing, and that kind of caught my attention.
See, yeah, this is how it works. That's where your priorities are.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
A funny thing that I noticed is if you do make it blow up in his face, like the big boom, and covers him in soot, like covers his face in soot, he doesn't wash it off. And when you see him again, when he runs into the classroom, when
he has soot on his face.
He'll keep it's still on his face. Yeah, he doesn't like. You can go wash your face, man. You ain't gotta.
You gotta see how I'm doing.
That's genius. Oh man, I need to play it again just for that.
Yeah.
I had no idea that happened. Good continuity there. Don't nod.
It is. But if you are a completionist like me, I guess you can get the picture and then rewind and make it blow up on him if you really wanna do that.
Mm-hmm. I did.
I didn't. I kept it with him being with him having the right answer. Which that actually comes into play in episode 3, his grade.
Oh yeah.
He gets. Which I guess we can hit on that when we get to episode 3. We kind of see. So flash forward a little bit because we see Kate walk off, and we overhear like the last little bit of their conversation, or you can actually hear more of it if you kind of like hang around without prompting it. But there's like a little sweet spot where you can kind of like hide out and listen in. But then if you prompt it, Kate will walk off, and that's when you'll talk to Jefferson, and he'll get the phone call. You go to class. Okay, I guess actually, because the course of events, he really wouldn't have time to go wash the soot off. Well, right. No, there's a sink in that classroom. I don't know. I think personally, if I had freaking chemical soot on my face, I would wash it off pretty quickly. But you know,
instead of just devoted to his craft.
Yeah.
Instead of just sitting there looking in the container saying she blinded me with science.
I do appreciate Warren's references.
Yeah.
His references are.
Yeah, he's pretty slick. Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. So anyway, flash forward to making our way to the dorm. We see him with Alyssa, actually, and that's kind of like where you get some cluing in on them being like really close friends, and also there's pictures where you can see them like hanging out.
And I think Alyssa kind of talks about Warren at the beginning of episode 2 when like Alyssa was asking Max about like her favorite movie or something. I can't remember what she said, but
and then also Alyssa, she will talk about Brooke being jealous of Max, and Brooke like being in love with Warren. Well, I don't know. Being in love is really.
She just
went 0 to 60, but
yeah, real quick.
her affinity for Warren, her crush. But I think it's like kind of important to note actually the interaction, even though it's like frozen as you're like making your way to the dorm to go up to the roof. You kind of do see like I guess like the good side of Warren here, particularly with the fact that, you know, he's with Alyssa and like is comforting her the best he can. You see like his sympathetic side, even empathetic.
Yeah, he's sensitive.
Yeah, and you know, it's like it's obvious that there's no attraction either way from Alyssa to Warren or Warren to Alyssa, but so like that's just purely like him being empathetic and them being friends. And so, you know, it's like we said earlier, he means well. He's just, like you said, Aaron, he just kind of overcompensates sometimes, but...
Yeah, for sure. He comes through in a pinch when things really matter.
And then... we
like
don't see him again until the final scene.
Yeah, which is just Max and Warren just sitting on the steps, right?
I love that part. Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
I was gonna say I love that part because I think it's like so indicative of their relationship, because you know you have all these choices to make and variables, but I feel like there's like this constant of Max and Warren just having this sort of bond, even if it's just as friends. And I feel like it's like the perfect blend of like he's like kind of joking around a little bit about like what happened, like, you know, trying to make light of it because it was so heavy. And then he like goes in to comfort her when he realizes she's like, you know, dealing with a lot and she's like scared about what's going on, and then he like defaults back to his like, you know, he's just like so scientific about it. He's just like, there's no eclipse scheduled today. I would know. I love it.
That's a pretty good Warren.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he can make you feel a little bit uncomfortable sometimes, but he does like we've said, he does mean well. And it's well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it later because it comes up in a later episode. But so that's it, because that's the end of episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we don't really see much of him in episode 3 either.
Yeah, very little. It's mostly through text, right?
Right. He tells you how to make a bomb.
Out of
and then
which is pretty scary that he knows that.
He probably Googled it, to be honest.
Yeah. Probably, it's 2013. Get with the times.
How to make a quick pipe bomb. That's a good thing to have in your
yeah, viewers don't
history.
Do that.
So it was a soda can, it was some duct tape, I think it was sugar or salt, I can't remember which one it was. And weed killer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the chemical that's in weed killer, which I forget what that is, but yeah. And actually, like, this is where you get the opportunity to boost his grade.
Mm-hmm.
And if like you leave it where without him like doing the experiment fully correct, I believe it's a B- that you can change it to a B+. Mm-hmm. But if you did it correctly, it's an A-, then you can change it to an A+, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Mm.
Is the change in that, which that's laying out on Miss Grant's desk.
Yeah.
In the room. Unrelated to Warren, and I know we've said this before, Blackwell at night is the fucking best.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude, it's so good.
It's like, man, that is like the aesthetic.
I love the music too.
Yeah. But yeah, we don't see him in episode 3 at all. We just have the
we kind of do a little bit towards the very end of it with the alternate timeline.
Oh right, yeah.
Oh yeah, where he's with Stella.
Yeah. I don't know why Max was somewhat worried about that, I guess.
I don't know if it was worry so much as just like, whoa, what? Like, just surprise.
Yeah, she was shook.
Because it is like, well, why? Like, there was nothing indicative whatsoever of him being with Stella at any other point. So it's just kind of like, whoa, that's weird.
Well, also, I mean, she's aware of what's going on. Like, she changed the course of history, but even so, like, seeing that, like, if somebody's into you and you have no interest in them, and then all of a sudden they're not, and, like, totally on somebody else, like, no matter what, I feel like you're going to be like, well, what the hell? Like, you know,
yeah.
I thought we had something.
Even though, like, I wasn't interested, this is still weird to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we see quite a bit of him in episode 4.
Yeah.
So he's pretty dismissive in the alternate timeline. He like really doesn't even give Max like, which makes sense because he's there with his girlfriend Stella. Like you're not gonna like, even if they are still friends, you're not gonna like having a tender moment with your girlfriend and be like, oh, hold on, let me go talk to this other girl real quick.
Yeah, the one in the Vortex Club. Let me just say hi.
Yeah, forget it.
But episode 4 is really, really where I think Warren's character is the most interesting, and it's because of the choice that you pick. This is really what made me think the most about Warren, like as a character, like introspectively, I guess, or not introspectively, but like introspective to him.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
Which I'm not Englishing good, but I hope people know
We've got to go
what
deeper.
I'm trying to say.
It's okay. I don't know what I say sometimes, so it's all good.
So when we,
I'm sorry. I was just trying to remember. I'm kind of like trying to remember in my head what happens in episode 4 whilst we're talking about it.
So much.
Yeah.
a lot, yeah. So we go through the alternate timeline, and then once we go back to the I guess main timeline, we'll call it.
Sure.
Back to not Chloe in a wheelchair, not that whole thing.
Back to
You have
where
to
it's
go
like
to
Warren Prime, I'm guessing.
yeah, we'll call it Warren Prime. So we have to go to Nathan's room to find some stuff, and when we come out, Nathan confronts us, and Warren again steps in. Now this is where it really gets interesting because you have the opportunity here to intervene or not. So before we unpack that, what did you guys choose?
I chose to intervene.
I didn't.
You let him beat him up?
Yeah. I like the first time I played it, I hated Nathan so much.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I just thought it was calmer, to be honest. But
Yeah, I mean
just seeing seeing Warren kind of redeem himself from episode 1, where he was kind of like flipped around. It was kind of nice to see until he did go a little bit too crazy on him, I will admit.
Yeah, it was wild. Because I never saw it, and I don't think I never played it that way, but I saw it on YouTube just out of curiosity. It's brutal. But the reason I chose to intervene, honestly, is not because I didn't feel like Nathan had it coming, but because it was more about Max. Like, I was looking at like the way that she was reacting. I was like, okay, I know like she wouldn't want this to happen, so I'm not gonna. It didn't seem right. It didn't seem like she would just like sit on the sidelines.
Right. Even Chloe is and Chloe like hates Nathan, like just fucking absolutely despises him. Even Chloe's kind of taken aback at like if you don't like before you get the option to intervene or not. She has this kind of like, whoa, maybe this is a little bit too much look on her face.
It does deliver, like, when you don't intervene, it does deliver one of my favorite Chloe lines in the game, though.
What?
It's when she picks up the gun and it says to Nathan, "Who's the bitch now?"
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't say that otherwise?
No.
Oh, right, because he runs off. Yeah.
And because Nathan picks up the gun.
Yeah.
But I think to unpack it a little bit, there's some interesting things here. And of course, it's subjective, but I feel like even though I wasn't particularly fond of either of them, Warren or Nathan at that point, it's still like it feels way out of character to Warren, and you know it's like pent up from like all the shit he's taken from Nathan and all that, but you kind of, if you don't intervene, he kind of crosses a line. And I know from like personal experience, and I actually have talked about this previously, but it takes a lot of searching when you kind of cross that line of like brutality, because you go to a very dark place. And so I feel like that's just like not what Warren's nature really warrants. That's not like he would feel so fucking bad about that, about going that hard.
He even did say, like afterwards, that he did say he felt a little bit too hard on him.
Yeah, he said he felt like he was like resembling Nathan, or like that's something that Nathan would do, and he didn't like that.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's also going to change the dynamic pretty significantly. Like comparing this to real life, it's going to change the dynamic pretty significantly between Max and Warren. And even if like you're not trying to have like too much to do with Warren, or if you're just trying to keep him as a friend or whatever, that's still kind of like, it's going to change the way Max looks at Warren, and it's going to change the way Warren looks at himself, and it's really going to change the dynamic there. That's something, because of the events, we don't really see expanded upon too much, just because we're focusing more on Max and Chloe. By this point, it's like all about that, and like the finalization of finding out what happens to Rachel, and so like that kind of gets sidelined, understandably so. Also, too, even though Nathan is like, he definitely acts like a pretty huge fucker. I don't think that he really like deserves that level of like, he gets enough abuse from the rest of his life to like, getting knocked down because he pulled a gun is one thing. Definitely, like, I'm not arguing against that, but then like when you're on the ground and like you're being fucking kicked and pummeled and shit, like, and then also too, like, if you stick around a little bit, you hear Nathan kind of like writhing on the ground, and it's like a really like dark and fucked up scene, and it like, it really is like, man, like, you start to feel bad for Nathan, not like in an excusing his actions way, but you start to feel bad. And even though there is some gratification of like him getting his ass knocked out for pulling a gun, it's still like, I don't know, it just goes a little bit too far.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that's why it's really cool and interesting that the developers gave you that kind of choice, because I feel like you see this a lot in movies where there's a clear-cut thing that happens next, like there's no branching path or anything like that. And so, you know, like, the fantasy of everybody who's facing a bully is to want to be able to stand up to him and like give him what for, and you know, everybody cheers in the, you know, romantic comedy when the bad guy gets knocked out and the guy gets the girl or whatever. But then you see it in this like real life context, and you're like, I didn't want to do that. It made me think of this one time, like when my brother and I got in a fight, and like he was being a real jerk, and I punched him in the stomach, and we're usually not very physical at all. I remember feeling like the worst person after that. Like, it was just not what I wanted. I'm not comparing my brother to Nathan, but you get what I'm saying.
Right, yeah. And yeah, I think there certainly is a time where you do have to defend yourself, and like, right or wrong be damned, if you feel like you are like, if you have a gun pulled on you, like, you probably, if you can, should if there's no other option, like, you, like, there's definitely room for self-defense there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I said, like,
if it was me in that situation, I wouldn't like go crazy like Warren. To be honest, I would probably just give him a couple of punches, make sure the gun's away, and probably restrain him of some kind.
Yeah.
And like even call like David, you know, because his number was in the Blackwell leaflet or whatever.
Yeah. Because it's not just a threat to you; it's like everybody else too.
Yeah, but it would be weird explaining why two people, well, and Chloe were in the boys' dorm. So I don't know.
right.
Yeah,
I mean, they were definitely
that'd be tough. I will say it's pretty badass that he was able to kick the gun out of his hand. Like, even if he didn't take it any further than that, I would have thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
That's all I really have to say about that scene. Do you guys want to say anything about that before we move on?
I just wanted to touch. Well, I don't know if we were going to get to it later, but I wanted to touch on. I think it was cool what Michelle said about it. How if you choose to like let him beat up Nathan, how it just like shows a different side of Warren that you wouldn't otherwise see, and it kind of reflects his humanity in that way. Like, he usually tries to be a good guy, but then like this really dark and vengeful side comes out, and I don't know. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that was a really good way that he put it.
Yeah, and they did a really good job too, of conveying that sentiment. Fight aside, though, I think that is properly unpacked.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We have some text messaging back and forth. But then we see him again at the party, the end of the world party, where he is drunk, or so it seems.
Yeah. Do you guys think he was or not?
I will say I initially, like, I didn't think about it. I saw the beer in his hand and he's acting drunk, so I was like, yeah, he's drunk. But I heard you guys talk about it, I think in another episode. It might have been in the first Warren episode. And then you were like saying, there's no way, because he said he had half a beer. And like, there's no way he could possibly be drunk off that. And then you introduced the idea that it was spiked. And I was like, I'd never even considered that as an option. So now, right now, I'm more inclined to believe that was the case, that he was drugged.
See, I think I've thought about this more, and probably I think there's embellishment of a few things here. One is he's 16 and drinking alcohol, and you don't really know, especially like if this is like your first encounter with alcohol, you don't really know like exactly what it's doing. You just know what you see other people, like the quote unquote like, oh, that's what drunk looks like. Like, you know, like. And then also I think probably too, he was trying to downplay the amount he imbibed, because no one wants to say like, yeah, man, I've been slamming away all night.
Yeah,
even though
that's true.
A 16-year-old kid. So like saying half a beer is probably embellishment, like downplaying.
You've actually kind of just brought up something, kind of like downplaying. Maybe he was like only acting somewhat drunk, so kind of playing off what happened with Nathan earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Just to basically just kind of put on a facade to Max, so basically he's all right.
Right. Trying to play it cool, trying to keep the cool, the like.
Keep the peace with Max,
right.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, and when you said that, Joey, like, if he doesn't, like, want to necessarily say, like, maybe if he had a lot more, like, I feel like that makes sense, because he wouldn't want Max to think he's, like, you know, some stupid party animal or something.
Yeah.
He's trying to cover it up.
So I think it's probably a little bit of A, a little bit of B. He's probably playing up how drunk he is and playing down how much he's had. And I think really that's like, I think that's probably, I mean, I know it's like still up to speculation. There is still like the speculation that it was like actually spiked, you know, like something heavier than that.
Maybe something like vodka or something.
Yeah. I mean, we know that like other people are like proper wasted, especially like as you go further back in the party. And yeah. And you go like, well, and Justin in the bathroom, all that is like, so there's plenty of room for speculation, but I guess my headcanon would be that you know, like I said, a little bit of A, a little bit of B.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But to keep some of the mystery there. You can roll with that.
He gets a picture.
It's not like that's going to be important or anything.
No.
It's a picture with Max.
I mean, like that's like kind of like, I was like, yeah, that's kind of nice, but once again, it's like, I feel like Warren is kind of like, I'm probably gonna get some slack for this, but I feel like throughout the story, Warren is a somewhat a speed bump from like getting stuff resolved. But I know he means well, right? But there's been like so many times where like you're trying to get stuff sorted out with Kate and Chloe, you know, Nathan and everything, and he's just there.
Right. He's a perfect example of that, actually. And I understand what you're saying by speed bump. You don't like, you're not like being derogatory toward him. But it's very inopportune, and I think sometimes even like relationships that could happen, they just don't happen. Like sometimes the opportunity just isn't there, and that really is like especially with this picture at the time. I mean, it definitely, like, later on we find out that, you know, thank God he did that.
Yeah.
But at the time, it's just like, not now, Nathan. Like, Jesus. I mean, not Nathan. Not now, Warren. I got
Chloe even
Nathan.
says that kind of. She's like, we don't have time for this. Like, come on. But, you know, I mean, he's in the dark. Like, there's no way he could possibly know what's going on. Like, you know, the gravity of the situation. He thinks they're just passing by, and he's like, well, I better take this chance, you know, might not get another one. And yeah, so you feel for him, but at the same time, I agree, Jamie. It's like, it's hard when you're the player and you have, like, you're, like, omniscient about everything that's going on, and you're just like, oh, okay, can we just...
Can you fucking not?
Right now? He's kind of like... It's kind of like, from what I've seen of like different Pokemon gameplay, it's like the different trainers like hiding in a bush, just waiting for you to walk past, and they just walk out of nowhere. Just like
right. You made eye contact with them, and now you got to battle them, even though you're like trying to do something completely different.
Yeah, trying to find a Diglett or something.
You got tunnel vision.
Yeah. One thing I kind of want to say about this moment is I would have laughed so hard, like if Max was leaving the dark room, and like said, Max was like, I need your picture, and like Warren was like, yeah, now you want to talk to me.
I feel like he would have if everything wasn't like blowing up and being destroyed.
Yeah.
If shit wasn't just absolutely crazy at that point.
Yeah.
I think too, though, that this is some good allegory, good way to look at it, with Warren not understanding that it's just inopportune, and so him not even realizing, like, the thought not even crossing his mind that with his advances and stuff, because of the time that it's happening, it's actually making it worse for him. Yeah. And I feel like that's a mistake that, like, I certainly made a lot. I feel like, you know, a lot of people make that mistake. It's an easy one to make, to not really play off of, to not really read the situation.
Max, let's go bowling.
Yeah, he comes across sometimes as like the cousin Nico.
Yeah.
Are you trying to? Or not the cousin Nico.
Roman.
Roman, yeah.
Okay, maybe another time. Anyway, we went on another tangent, but which it was kind of weird because it went on a tangent where we actually started to talk about, kind of delve into Warren's character a little bit, which was actually rare for us.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call
actually
it a tangent. We were staying on topic.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's it for episode 4.
That's episode 5. Just mainly on the phone, for like the very beginning of where you kind of interact with him, from what I can remember.
Right. This is kind of where we see the culmination of how we've interacted with Warren up until that point. When we get to the 2 whales.
Yeah. Honestly, when you said, Joey, that like episode 4 was kind of like more of the more of the episode that kind of defined Warren's character a little bit, I honestly thought episode 5 was.
How so?
It's mainly because no matter like what was happening with the huge storm and everything, right? And like all the stuff that Max said to him, which we'll get into a little bit, he still trusted him no matter what.
Right. Yeah.
Which is rare, even though it was complete crazy talk. But it was just like amazing just to see like Warren's passion for Max just to be so strong that he actually believed her and actually just supporting her no matter what.
Just unquestioned it.
Yeah.
Unquestioned is not a word. But he was unquestioning of it.
Yeah. That's kind of like what I felt about Warren. That's kind of like what warmed me up to him a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I was actually earlier when I said I would talk about it when we got to the episode, is actually like what I was kind of laughing at, because it's like he is this prodigy, this science prodigy, and But then he's just like, yeah, okay. That doesn't make any scientific sense whatsoever, but yeah, okay.
It's like,
but I feel like that makes sense because like I feel like he wants so badly to believe in that kind of stuff. Because you know he was like sending Max all that stuff on like time travel, right? Or did she look that up herself? I can't remember.
Well,
it was kind of like a two-way street. It's like Max was like looking on her own, and Warren was like sending her stuff because she kind of like asked for a scientific standpoint, from what I can remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's how it played out. It was just like, let's talk about time travel a little bit. But she did a whole lot of research on her own.
And I'm guessing because of like all the different anomalies with like the weather, the atmosphere, and everything, that's kind of like what kind of made Warren a little bit more accepting of the entire situation.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, you can't ignore
like,
what's happening.
There's the fucking whale carcass in the middle of the road outside that's on fire. Now is not the time, I guess, to really like ask for a second opinion. Like, are you sure? Are you sure?
Yeah.
So I was like, what other option do you have?
Let me call up Brooke.
But yeah, I mean, it, like you said, Jamie, it does show that like he is at his core very supportive of Max.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually like something I wanted to dig into a little bit. I think it's really interesting. Like, I was thinking a lot about like what his purpose is in this game, because I think it's really easy to like kind of write him off as sort of an insignificant character in that the decisions that you make with him don't like most of them don't really have like grave consequences. You can either agree to go to the movie with him or not. You know, it's mainly about like building a relationship with him. Whereas like with Chloe, it's literally life and death. With Kate, it's literally saving her life. You know, it's not right. By comparison, it's not that big. But what I thought, and I'd be interested to like hear more about this, is I think whether he is or he isn't, I think Warren like thinks of himself as sort of a pillar of stability for Max. Like, you know, she's new to this school. She doesn't really know a whole lot of people. She's kind of reserved. So he latches on to her. He knows that they have a ton in common, and he wants to like hang out all the time and like talk about movies and whatever else. And then you see throughout the story, at the beginning, it's kind of implied that they're really close friends, but they kind of break away little by little. And you see like, you know, while he tries to be supportive of her and like, you know, he stands up for her, he gets in fights for her, more and more you see he kind of like goes into the background and she doesn't need him as much anymore. And then I thought about like, you know, I won't speak for Hannah, but I remember Hannah said one time that she felt like she kind of grew with Max as the story progressed, and that they both were like more and more confident in themselves. And I think it speaks a lot to that because she becomes more and more independent. She realizes the weight of all this falls on her, and as good intentions as Warren has, he can't really be there for her in the way that he wants to. And by the time we get to Polarized in the diner and, you know, she's telling him all this stuff, he's kind of like a bystander, and he just has to be like, well, I'm with you no matter what. So I don't know, I thought that was really cool.
Kind of weird that you kind of brought up that analogy, because as soon as you were saying that, it was pointing out so many things I haven't actually seen before, like I haven't really put to Warren before, and kind of just seeing how the way that Max kind of, you know, grows as a character from episode 1 of 5, it actually makes a lot of sense, because from like Max becomes a lot more like independent compared to what she was in episode 1.
Yeah,
right.
So yeah, that was a really good analogy right there.
Thanks.
And I think from like a real life standpoint too, granted, the extenuating circumstances in play in Life is Strange are not things that happen in real life, because time travel powers don't fall into a teenage girl's laps and don't cause like a disruption of the space-time continuum to the point where it is about to rip a town asunder.
Right.
But
not yet anyway.
It's fingers crossed though. Allegorically speaking though, it's important to actually recognize that, because when someone is growing more independent and all that, you can either like grow with them, or if you still like, it becomes almost almost dismissive. And I think this is like, I'm not gonna bag on Warren, but I think this is where a lot of the problem that I had with Warren comes from, is that and now granted it's just because of this takes place over a week.
Yeah.
And so there's not really like the room to expand upon that, like what would happen naturally and organically. But
Right.
it does, because as we see Max grow, as we become more confident with her use of powers, or at least at the very least, maybe not confident with her powers, but we like understand the gravitas of it, the weight of it. It feels more and more like Warren is like almost like dismissive of what you're accomplishing, and I don't think it's intentional. Like I'm not saying that Warren is like that type of person, but I think that's maybe where some of my like initial disdain for him came from, is because it's just like you're kind of dismissing Max by your actions, whether it's intentional or not.
Yeah.
And so I really think like actually taking like examination, like a deeper examination of Warren, of Max, the relationship either way, it really puts things into perspective, and you kind of see it from both sides, and you kind of you become more understanding, I guess, and you realize that it's not black and white like that.
Yeah.
Warren does a lot of things that he shouldn't do, in his, because he's thirsty. Get that boy a drink. And at the same time, like, you still, like, you become more sympathetic to him by kind of like unpacking him a bit, and you realize that, like, of course he can't. He, like, a 16-year-old kid. Some people go through things in their life that make them realize quicker than other people, and like maturity is all relative, and like what someone acts like at a certain age is relative to what they've been through in their life. But like, of course he can't do everything perfect. So I really feel like we even did ourselves a disservice, and just in like ragging on him like we did, because we missed some good opportunity to really like delve into the psyche of a character. And but I think that character, like when you do delve into it and you realize a lot of the subtleties of the relationship and of everything that's happening, like there's some really good stuff there.
Yeah.
So we now, if you played your cards right, you have the opportunity to kiss Warren. If you mostly ignore him and don't really build that, you don't have that. The opportunity isn't there at all.
Who would do that?
So, but okay, let's assume though that we have all options on the table, where we can just leave, we can hug him or kiss him. What did you guys choose?
I went in for the kiss. I went all in.
Did you?
Yeah. Well, it was mostly because like that. It was like the state of things. Like everything was just chaos, and I'm like, I didn't know how the game was going to progress, and I was like, I don't really know if I'm ever going to see this kid again, and I know that's all he wants, so why not? I was literally on the verge of changing history again, so it really had no consequence. So it was like, yeah, sure.
What about you, Jamie?
I'm trying to remember now. It's actually been a while since I first played it. I remember there was a playthrough that I did where I purposely tried to get my ways without like reading any of his text. So I just left and joined that playthrough. But if it was like, since like I've kind of grown towards Warren a little bit, I'd hug him. I wouldn't really kiss him per se, because I'm guessing like the personalities of Max and Warren would really clash, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting. I'd like to hear more about that.
I'll get into it a little bit later on, but I just
Cool.
don't really think they're a really good fit. To be honest, I just went like hug. He's like, yeah, buddies.
Yeah, and that's I chose hug too for a lot of the same reasons. Is it just, even though I had the option to kiss, is still even even though the fact that you're basically staring down the barrel of nature's gun, it's still just like it just didn't sit right to kiss him for me. So I did hug him. I did, like, because that feels like sincerely. And at that point in my initial playthrough, I remember thinking about, like, Warren, I'm not, like, head over heels for you. I'm not, like, super fond of you. But sincerely, I do appreciate, like, putting myself in Max's shoes. Sincerely, I do appreciate what you've done to help me out through this fucking hellacious week that I've been through. Like,
yeah.
So I do, and I do want to convey that. And, like, I will miss you. So I hugged him.
It's kind of like, I would say it was a matter of priorities too, as well. It's like, instead of like, hey, want to make out, it's like, hey, I'm gonna go save my best friend, and try and prevent this again. So hold my beer.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of how you look at that relationship too. Is to really, which obviously, but what I'm trying to say is, it's, if you look at it like something was building there, like something was budding, and like Aaron, like you were saying, you do kind of see this as like your last chance. You don't know what's going to happen, even if it's like inconsequential. I still feel like there might be a little bit of consequence, but in a positive way. You think like this might be the last opportunity I have, if that's what you want to do. Like if you are for
right.
and more, and this is like probably the last opportunity I'll have.
Right, like with the knowledge that you're going to change the course of things, the only real consequence it has is on you, the player, which is Max. Yeah. So, yeah. Right, and if you're fond, if your idea of Max is fond of Warren, then it does feel like the I can see how that could feel like the appropriate send off to that arc.
Mm-hmm. But the great thing about this is that it's all determined by choice, and since we are own people, we get to make the decision of the game. So all of this is our own opinions. We can't really say anything about your own playthrough of the game. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a big point. We should probably we made a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like maybe we could have said it, but it still goes without saying that.
Yeah.
It is highly subjective on how you viewed, and that's why, and this is a like different conversation, but that why I would argue like how, like, the argument, I'm not saying people are wrong, but how I personally would argue that, like, even if you do sacrifice Chloe and you go back in time, it's still, you still have that, like, that impression. You still have that, like, what's in your mind, it doesn't immediately make you forget all of that. And it's still about, like, the emotions that you went through. And sometimes in life, you're going to have these things that, like, have these, like, huge impressions on you. You're going to have these, like, extreme emotions, and it may be done the very next day. And it may just be something that you look back on, like, you have nothing to show for it except for, like, what's in your head. But like I said, that's not really what we're talking about here.
It's about Warren.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good insight, though. I mean, it's a good way to look at it.
So the last, if you do choose to sacrifice Chloe, we see Warren attending the funeral, waddling.
Yeah,
his little penguin waddle.
That's so good.
I don't have a problem with Warren. There's like a few people that I don't really understand to be at Chloe's funeral.
Well, there are only a few people there.
Well,
yeah.
Warren would be there to support Max.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he's like standing next to her, right?
Yeah.
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 So I mean, that would be, even though, and Warren, like, I feel like even like in that course of events, Warren doesn't really know Chloe at all, but he knows that like she was important to Max, so he was there to support Max.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
And Kate's there too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same reason, I think. I think a lot of is like
Support.
Max support group.
Yeah, but I really love. I'm going a bit on a tangent here, but I really love how Kate comforts Joyce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was like yes, just like even though it was such a sad scene, I really appreciated like no matter like for all the pain, Kate was there to support the mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the entire situation, keeping focus away from the protagonist, which was great.
Right.
It just shows that,
Yeah, it wasn't just about Max. She's got a heart for everybody.
Yeah.
And plus too, I mean, Chloe was a former student of Blackwell. She got kicked out, but I mean, she still is a former student. So there's going to be some like, you know, even though she wasn't currently a student, like there's still like some of like, well, you were home team, you know, you were still part of the thing that we're a part of. On top of also being there just as general support, and you can also like assume too that Max is going to have told some of them about like, you know, what Chloe meant to her.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, that ending isn't real. So
They're both real.
oh yeah, you're pulling the Christian Divine card on us.
That's right. I'd swear by it.
And with the other ending, he's presumed dead, right?
Presumed, yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. So it's open.
I feel like he might have been though, because I have a theory about this, and hear me out. So if we assume that Max's actions do not take effect if she rewinds time, right? So think of it like this, right? Max saves the diner from blowing up, right?
Yes.
But she goes back into the Polaroid to save Chloe. So that means she would have been at Chloe's house that night.
Right.
Meaning she would have went to the beach with Chloe, which would have undone the action of her saving the diner.
Correct.
Right.
That's why I think Warren died.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's sound. The only thing that I would say is like maybe because Max went back and changed the course of history, that maybe Warren would have been somewhere else, but I can't explain why or how or where.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like, I guess when you look at the evidence that you have, that's the conclusion to draw to. But you could also think too that, you know, she texted Warren and said, "Don't go to the diner." Like, you know, there's plenty of assumptions you can make, and I guess like guess just how you wanna look at it.
And there were like hours where Max wouldn't remember that amount of time, so she could have done anything.
But like I said, with the evidence that we have, it's pretty safe to assume that was the course of action. But you can't you can't say with
hard to say
with absolute certainty.
Mm-hmm.
It's
like if they don't show him, he ain't dead.
Right.
That's kind of like what that's kind of like what we have to kind of go on, but it's just a matter of assumption and whatnot.
Well, you could take that a step further and use the Schrodinger's cat analogy.
He's alive and dead at the same time.
Yeah, it's on his shirt.
It's has more significance than just being a nerdy T-shirt.
That's right.
It's actually a secret way to become just being alive and dead at the same time, apparently.
Schrodinger's Warren.
And that's pretty much the summary of the story regarding Warren, right?
Right.
So let's move into kind of like the different character relationships with Warren and kind of like delve into there a little bit.
All right.
Because there is quite a bit. It's just we kind of already talked about some parts, so we'll just kind of gloss over it a little bit.
Right. So I think, well, I don't know if I thought we've as we've gone we've discussed Max and Warren.
Yeah.
But if there's anything else to add,
I feel like there is, because we didn't mention the nightmare sequence, so we could talk about.
Oh, that's right.
The perception, yeah.
Yeah, the perception of Warren, and
right,
which is completely obsessive, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
It's like you're getting like the aggressive side from Nathan, amplifying it to the obsession of Warren to Max.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense, where it's just like with the shrine in Warren's locker.
Right.
Yeah, that was pretty disturbing. I didn't actually see that on my playthrough. I saw it on a YouTube video, and yeah, that was pretty unnerving.
Yeah, I think the nightmare sequence is an interesting manifestation of all the fears that Max has, and like from the course of events.
Right.
And if you look at the environment too, she's having to hide from all these characters and like stay away from all these characters. So that's like definitely like the anxiety of like knowing that you have something important to do, but if these people catch you, it's going to keep you from doing that. It's going to keep you from getting to your objective, which goes back to Jamie, like you said, the speed bump thing, where she kind of like sees all of these people as like, I'm not like, I cannot progress to my objective if I don't stay clear of this. And then you have you have Wells being the lighthouse, the sentinel, I guess, the like ever watching everything that Max has done has been under the ever watching eye of Wells. And then
yeah, that is brilliant. I love the way they did that.
Yeah, I mean, I really think the nightmare sequence was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So we look at Warren like that, having to stay away from Warren, him always like being there, and then also like the just being unsure of, Warren likes you and all that, but is it dangerous? Is it dangerous for me? Like to look at that. So that's kind of like where like the whole locker comes into play, and it's like these residual feelings that have been kind of welling up in Max, to it with the nature of her relationship with Warren.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you bring up like, everybody else's role in the nightmare, Joey, because that was the first time when I saw that part with his locker. That was the first time I really like saw him portrayed as like a threat, or like somebody that Max just really didn't want to be around. But it's like nobody's portrayed well in that nightmare. Like like you said, it's a manifestation of all of her fears about everyone she knows.
Right.
So it's kind of a wash, but you can take that and say at the very least that she does have these fears about him specifically. They are very specific to him. Mm-hmm. And I think what you can take away from that is the whole nightmare just serves to illustrate that Max is like really alone, or that's the most alone she's ever felt.
Right.
And the only one who ends up stepping in at the end to come to her defense is Chloe, when they're sitting at the diner and Max is, arguing with herself. Mm-hmm. But
I have another theory about that. I feel like Chloe defending Max in the nightmare sequence is like trying to get Max to actually what's the word? Come to. If that makes any sense.
Like it comes like the sequence of like where you're dreaming, and then you're hearing your name called or something like that, and then
yeah, it's like that.
The lucid. Yeah, I definitely think that is a big part of it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, still Warren. The kiss between Warren and Chloe really creeped me out.
Did it?
Yeah, it did. Because knowing these two characters with conflicting personalities just kissing in front of someone that Warren was trying to get with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was just
I
weird.
actually just found that part absurd. Like, I was like, there's no way this would ever be real. But then again, when you're in a nightmare, you think everything's real. So.
And I think too, it was to illustrate the, like, and, you know, of course, this is just my own, like, how I've tried to rationalize what happens in the nightmare sequence. I think it's like, it's a manifestation of the feeling that Max has, is where, like, A, like you said, Jamie, being alone, being, like, truly alone, and then B, not being able to trust, because Max feels like she can't trust, like, these people, because really, like, of course you're going to feel that way when you have something so crazy as what's been going on, and you feel like you can't trust it. But it's also, like, the fear of, like, you know, are these people really here for me? Are they here for just the idea of me? Or, like, are they behind my back? You know, am I, like, this weird kid, and they're, like, just...
Or are they, like, trying to meet me to get new opportunities, if that makes any sense?
Yeah.
Like, trying to basically open one door so you can open another one and kind of just forget the first door even existed, I guess.
Right. And also,
If that
too,
makes any sense.
like, the fear, and I'm projecting, of course, because this is something that, like, I've had a fear of, is, like, am I just the train wreck that people are sticking around to watch, like, progress? And so I think that's where, like, that particular segment of the nightmare was where, like, it's going through everyone interacting with each other completely against Max. So it is very interesting to kind of look at the I guess the impact of everything that Max has been through with all of her other people, the negative impact that has, the anxieties and stuff.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to remember. I know I was going to mention, like, the conflicting personalities between Max and Warren earlier. Already forgot what I was going to say. I really should have wrote it down.
Well, I think, you're just generally, like, saying that they wouldn't work well as, like, an item.
Yeah. I'm guessing because I don't want to assume anything about Max's character. She seems a little bit of an introvert.
Well, that's
a
good assumption to make.
Yeah, and Warren is the complete opposite. You know, an extrovert. If that's the actual name of it, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Where basically, you know, Warren's just trying to make as many friends as possible, whilst Max just kind of wants to be on her own. Maybe have, like, one or two friends that she can really confide in.
Right.
And since she already has that with Chloe, from what I can assume with their past relationship, knowing each other for years on end, right? It's kind of safe to assume that Max wouldn't really want to open herself much to Warren as she does to Chloe.
Right.
That's kind of like what I'm trying to say, even though the way I should have said it was a lot better, and I should have wrote it down, but it's a rough idea.
Well,
no, that makes sense. Yeah.
If it comes back to you, interject.
Yeah, I think it's like it's an exploration of, like, because it is kind of realistic in a way, like, you know, when you have personal relationships, like, just because you have a lot in common with somebody, it doesn't always mean that you're gonna, you know, work on that level.
Right.
And I think Max and Chloe, it's interesting to me that they could work in that way, because they are so different in a lot of ways, but they have, like, this weird. There's just something that keeps bringing them back together. Like, it's sort of unspoken in a way. There's no, like, I don't think you can pinpoint anything between the two of them where you can say, yeah, that's what brings them together, except the fact that they just care a lot about each other, and it's just Chloe.
Yeah, it's Chloe.
I mean, they do have that chemistry there. They do have that chemistry, even if it's just friendship chemistry. They do have that, like, that pull to each other. But yeah, it is interesting to think about it, and I kind of do see both sides of this. Where it is, like, you're not sure if it's, like, maybe sometimes, you know how opposites attract, but you're not sure if it's, like, really that case. It kind of seems like maybe it is, but you're not really sure. So, and I guess that's why, like, if you wanted to pursue that, that's why you would pursue that, is just to kind of see, like, how that plays out, you know, or, like, if there's something there. And it's highly possible, too, that if we saw more than just a week, and it wasn't under the auspice of, like, having your childhood best friend trying to keep her from being shot and bleeding out on a bathroom floor, and then trying to, like, figure out how to fucking undo all the chaos that you're causing from that one thing.
Yeah.
So if it was under normal auspices, it might very well be that they would work, even though they do have that kind of conflicting personality in a way. Or it's also possible that, like, there's certainly room there to try it, but maybe it just ends up where they, like, do see themselves as just better off as friends, which happens too.
Yeah. I'll say this, and I think this is... It's being as, you know, not as Gramfield about it, but I think it could have worked between them if none of this ever happened and Max never got the power to rewind time.
Right.
But I feel like in light of all that, now that she knows that about herself and everything that she went through, there's just no way. Like, there's no way that they're like, their wavelengths are completely off now. Like, even though she told him at the end of Polarize, like, and he believed her, even if she did that again after correcting everything, there's no way.
Yeah, it's going to be, like, there's always going to be that weird, like, elephant in the room that like, neither one of them could really talk about, because it's going to be like, so, you know, I believe you, don't get me wrong, but this whole thing that you said happened is pretty crazy, right? Like that type of thing. So
yeah, I feel like he just keep wanting... Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You just keep wanting to go see movies and stuff, and she's, like, you know, having PTSD from everything that happened.
Yeah, from like losing her best friend and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's really it regarding Max, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That unless we think of something along the way. But speaking of romantic interests, since we're on the topic of it, Brooke and Warren. See, I see them working really well together.
Yeah, because they have the science interest together. Yeah, science. That's all I can really remember.
I feel like
you might say they have chemistry.
I'm leaving.
It was terrible. Sorry.
It's okay. I've made worse.
But Brooke is also, like, way more straightforward, and I guess what's the word I'm looking for?
Basic?
No. Like,
I'm guessing, like, the best way to put it is that there might be Warren might be interested in Brooke, but he seems like a little bit of, like, reaching towards Max, I guess, if that makes any sense. So I'm guessing if, like, Brooke actually tried to confide in Brooke a little bit more, they would be a great couple.
Yeah.
He just doesn't see her that way, and I think that's especially evident when if you do agree to go with him to the movie, he brags about it to Brooke.
Yeah.
Which is the dumbest thing you could ever do.
Stupid. Guys, don't do that.
So I think he's just oblivious.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you've done this, but from what I can remember, if you invite Daniel to the Vortex Club party, I think Brooke actually ditches Warren to actually just start talking to Daniel.
Really?
I think so. If I might be remembering this incorrectly, but I think that's what happened. Because I felt kind of bad when I did it. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna reject Warren, and then invite Daniel to the Vortex Club, and then I just seen Brooke and Daniel just talking, you know, near the bar at the Vortex Club. It's like, hey, how you guys going? It's like, yeah, Warren just left. I'm having fun with Daniel. It's like, oh, okay. Whoops.
This is chaos.
But back to what I was saying, I think they play well off each other. I think they could potentially play very well off each other, because Warren is very goofy, and he's, like, you know, he's just this bubbly, goofy,
right,
guy.
Brooke, she's just sort of like deadpan.
Yeah, and Brooke is more like rigid isn't the right word, but more like structured, I guess, and like and analytical. So I think they kind of like keep each other grounded, you know, like
maybe highly functioning, maybe. That's
sure.
probably bad.
What do you mean?
I mean, she's like calculated. She's
not analytical.
Yeah.
She's kind of seeing things more of like not really of like a social standpoint.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
She's not to discredit Warren's scientific ability, of course, because you know he's this, like I said, he's this prodigy, the science prodigy. Brooke is like purely scientific method, where Warren is kind of pop sci, if that makes sense. Right, yeah. So
it's like, she's interested in the actual theory of it, whilst Warren's more of the like science fictional.
Yeah, like by the books versus like
comic
like
books.
Outside of the box thinking. And so I think that's why they would vibe really well together, even like just as like a team of scientists. You know, you have Warren who can kind of like who's willing to go out on limbs to see like you know, just what if, and then you have Brooke saying like, well, that won't work or that would work, and here's why. And then they're both like really good at science and stuff, so they could like vibe off of that. So
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. As a team of scientists, I think that definitely is there, and I also see that like how that could play romantically as well.
Mm. That's a good way to put it.
I definitely am like, I think Brooke and Warren would be a cute couple. I guess if I ship Warren with anyone, it's definitely Brooke.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yes.
What is she? Oh, so Brooke Scott. So it'd be Scott Field. We'll go with Scott Field.
No,
not Scott Field. No, Graham Scott.
Graham Scott.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Whoops. But that's already.
Isn't that Warren and Nathan though?
Oh shoot!
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, because Prescott.
Yeah. Just forget the whole thing. It's not gonna
work. Shit! This is why it won't work. This is the only reason. Because there's no power couple name.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brooke.
Listeners, tell us what you would call that ship.
Yeah, tweet it at us.
Yeah. Let us know.
Scot'em. It stands done.
Scot'em.
Anyway, we might as well talk about the final, like somewhat love interest, which is Stella, right?
Yeah.
Even though we don't know much.
Yeah, I think that's just.
Yeah. Do you like interact with her at all, other than that little moment?
No.
And in like an episode, you only really know about her from episode 1 and episode 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that she has a crush on Jefferson and she works at the Vortex Club parties.
Oh, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
I don't think Stella knows the depravity of Jefferson. So I think it's like it's pretty easy. He's a good looking guy. He's affluent. I could see without knowing that he's a fucking piece of shit. How you could crush on him.
It's deceptively charming.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as Warren and Stella goes, there's not really anything to unpack, because I think that's just the like the fly ball to show how.
Yeah. You see, I have another dumb theory. Here we go. You see, with time travel, right? Mm-hmm. The way that Max went, she time traveled further than she ever really did before, which is about 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from what I can remember, right? Because I'm a huge fucking nerd and watched read the Flashpoint comic book, which is about the Flash going back in time, right, to save his mother and whatnot. They explained it that for the small event, there's going to be echoes throughout time, right? Like ripples, which will change small things. And I feel like the Warren that we would have known in the prime timeline, you know, where Life is Strange happens, compared to the alternate, they could be completely different for all we know, even with Stella.
Absolutely. And that's the chaos theory. I mean, that's the butterfly effect, you know, like how one small thing could potentially have like huge implications.
Yeah, I totally subscribe to that. And I think you could take it a step further and say because things panned out that way, and like Max was part of, the Vortex Club and all that, they never got close, and therefore she never brought out this side of him that was like, super like, he just like, he becomes like super Warren. He's like totally into all his hobbies. Like he has somebody to share it with. He's excited. I feel like from what you see of him and Stella, he's just sort of like reserved and like, well, this is good enough.
Yeah. And that is a interesting thing, like from an armchair psychology standpoint. That is like a pretty interesting thing, because we really are like culminations of the people that we have around us, and like the way we the way we act and stuff. I mean, like, you are the company you keep, as the saying goes. So
it's all really a matter of like what you're exposed to.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's all I really have to say about Stella.
I think we stretched that out as much as we could.
Yeah.
We did talk about Alyssa some. Warren and Alyssa. I think it's pretty obvious they're good friends.
Yeah.
Even though we don't have it like direct exposition for us to show them like hanging out all the time, but I think from what we can infer and the clues that we're given, like they're very, very solid friends. They hit it off well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's just sort of nice background information. It's like when you go into Kate's room and you see the picture of her and Alyssa, and like, just knowing that they all have that kind of community.
Yeah.
Right. So there is a thing worth mentioning, and I will opine about it, but there's a scribble on the table. This has Warren and Alyssa 2013. So there's a couple things that could be indicative of. I think most likely what it is, personal opinion, is it's just because they hang out a lot. I'm assuming they hang out a lot. I think it's a pretty safe assumption. Probably like that's like, oh, haha, y'all are dating, because Alyssa is not popular. Bless her heart. She is like heavily picked on. You see the graffiti.
Yeah.
With Alyssa, so it's like that shitty, like antagonistic, like
spreading rumor kind of thing.
Yeah. I definitely don't think it was written by either of them, and I think that's a pretty sound assumption.
But of course we don't know either way. But I think that they're just like really, really solid friends, hang out a lot. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
I see Alyssa being in love with like someone from an anime. And like
I have a theory, right?
Uh-huh.
Again, I'm sorry. I feel like there's like two people that I feel would make a good couple with Alyssa.
Who's that?
Maybe Evan at a stretch. And then Daniel, because both Alyssa and Daniel seem kind of reserved. They both have their interests,
Right.
And all that stuff. They both don't mind to get philosophical.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of like a good starting point. I mean, they could be good friends for all we know. I mean, it'd just be something interesting to see.
Right. And I think it is pretty safe to assume that, with the exception of the Vortex Club people, because they are the elites of Blackwell Academy, everyone else is at the very
Pretty
least
friendly
like
with each
pretty friendly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not like
Definitely.
hanging out, but
Like getting like the students are getting like tea whilst the elites are smoking on some dank OG bud.
Yeah, I think at the very least she'd just, be like his artistic muse.
Right.
Yeah.
And they could, the fact that Daniel is a really good drawer and all that, like, vibe ideas off of.
Yeah.
Evan, I don't know. I could maybe see. I think it would. I think it would need a little bit more like meat behind it.
Because the only thing they really have in common is that they are a photography class.
Right.
From what I could tell, anyway, it's just mainly because of personality, from what I can remember. But then again, they could conflict completely and just even hate each other at some point. So I can't really assume.
Right. Yeah, it's not really. That's not really ever really touched on too much.
We should probably go back onto Warren, considering it is a Warren episode.
So yeah, that's Warren and Alyssa, I think. Do you have anything else?
No, I think that's about it.
Yeah. Can we go into Kate now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kate. All right. I'm glad that Kate and Warren have a somewhat stable relationship, even though Warren did watch that video numerous amount of times.
Right.
Just one and a half times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Kate likes Warren. We get that from Max and Kate talking, and we like you said earlier, Aaron, is the picture Kate's room. We see, which I'm like, I'm fairly certain that like there's that group of people, that they're all like really close with each other. There's Warren, Kate, Alyssa. They hang out a lot, and then of course Max too is part of that group. Hangs out with that group.
Yeah.
So I think Kate's such a sweetheart. She'll be friends with anyone that's not an asshole to her.
Yeah, for sure. But I think there is something there, like what you were saying. I think she definitely approves of him.
Yeah.
And she's like trying to nudge Max in the right direction.
Yeah.
Not the right direction in her eyes.
Right. Kate calls Warren a cutie pie.
Yeah, she digs him.
So I think Kate and Warren are like definitely good friends.
Yeah.
Also too, like that's their support group, that's like their clique is Kate, Warren, Alyssa, and Max.
I actually think it's interesting because I feel like it's kind of like that I don't even know what you compare it to, but it's like a chain. Like, how like, because Warren is obviously interested in Max and she doesn't really reciprocate that. Brooke is interested in Warren, and I think it's like it's so realistic how things get mangled up like that, because I feel like people idealize each other and like they think so much about how things could be. And I feel like Kate might do that to a degree, maybe like nowhere near as obsessively, but I think she probably like sees him as like he's like a gallant gentleman, and like he'll treat you right, and she appreciates that about him.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Chloe, there's not really anything there.
I have a problem.
Okay.
With this. How did Warren
What's
get
your
Chloe's
problem?
number?
Well,
he has her number?
Yeah, because Chloe texts Warren about.
Oh right.
I don't know. It's easy enough to do.
Do you think Chloe got Warren's number from Max's phone when she was sleeping?
Maybe.
I like that. Yeah, we'll go with that. That seems more plausible than... Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he would just volunteer that.
You stinky Warren, go ape ugly.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of interaction. They talk some, but I think it's just because they're both like their common denominator is Max.
Yeah.
But
they're mutuals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Chloe she thinks he's okay, but she's like, Miss Steal Your Girl. She doesn't really think much of him. He's kind of just like, away with you.
The third wheel, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take the hand.
Yeah, although you do get a somewhat nice interaction after the Nathan scene in episode 4 with Max, Chloe, and Warren.
Yeah.
You know, where they're just talking, basically just... I think it was Max basically said to Warren, just don't get involved.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and Chloe is like, she's all about Nathan getting his ass kicked in that regard.
Yeah.
So she's like,
mission.
yeah, you go, Warren.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of like people that Chloe doesn't like, we should probably go on to like Nathan, right?
Yeah. So these are like the big.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
They do not like each other.
Not even a little bit.
I wonder what gave that away. Do you think it was the black eye that Warren got, or the black eye that Nathan got?
I did like how they did that. How they like turned the headbutt around the second
eye
time.
for an eye.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting their dynamic because it's obvious why they hate each other. Like, I mean, it's just there.
Yeah, they're just they're just two opposites.
Yeah. Right. And, you know, I mean, anybody who pushes Max around is going to be his enemy, Warren's enemy. But I also think, like, I don't know if Warren realizes this. Like, I don't think that he, like, identifies that. But, like, he mentions later on, like, if you choose to, like, let him beat the crap out of Nathan, he mentions later on that he sees certain parallels between the two of them. And I wonder if, like, even before that, he acknowledges, like, that they both have, like, deep-seated insecurities. Nathan's are obviously way more messed up, but
right.
I don't know.
Wait, and then, like,
I wonder if he actually feels for him.
I'm sure he does. I mean, if we speaking on, like, the genuine, like, concern that Warren has for people, which he demonstrates. Like, I think it's pretty safe assumption to think that, like, there's a part of Warren that feels for Nathan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe, you know, you could turn that around and say Nathan, like, hates him so much because he wishes he wasn't the way that he himself was and that he could be. Well, maybe that's a stretch to say he wishes he could be more like Warren, but maybe he sees something there, like, that he, like, if things had gone differently or, you know, if he was able to stand up for himself, maybe he, you know, could be happier.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely there. But, unfortunately, they are bitter rivals. Well, I don't know if that's their rivals, but they are definitely bitter and they are enemies.
Yeah. That's, from what I could tell, really, all the interactions I can think with Warren, right? Like, relationship-wise, that are direct, that's something that we can actually assume are certain.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you could easily make assumptions that he interacts with other people at Blackwell, but there's not anything to go on there, really. There's no, like, we don't see any of it.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting that he never really interacts a whole lot with Jefferson.
Yeah. I guess it's because
there's just nothing.
I'm guessing mainly because, you know, that Warren's a science student.
Right. Yeah, different courses, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really it for relationships. There are a couple of interesting little snippets of trivia, which Michelle has mentioned before, and you actually see some more trivia if you want to look up more. You can look at the Life is Strange Wikia, which is very, very well done. But Michelle mentioned that he's kind of based off of Xander from Buffy, which is very obvious if you've watched Buffy.
I actually haven't, but I'd be interested to see what parallels are there.
It's really, really good. Like, in its own merit, Buffy is amazing, but also like you'll definitely see the parallels, like the first episode. So, what else? License plate, X-Files.
Yeah. I'm reading. I'm on the wiki right now. I love how even in Max's nightmare, Warren would reference the fucking Warriors. Like, no matter what situation that Max is in, Warren will always be that kind of goofball.
Right. Even when he's like this a scary villain type. Yeah, he's still referential. Did you know, actually, here's a little bit of trivia about the Warriors. That line, the Warriors come out to play. That was completely ad-libbed. That wasn't in the script.
Yeah.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, that was I forget the guy's name, but that was he did it and it stuck. And it's interesting because
it's like quoted so much.
Yeah, like that is like, if people are familiar with the Warriors, like it's that scene. But yeah, so that was not scripted.
Nice. Trivia all over.
Yeah. See, you came to Blackwell Podcast to learn about Life is Strange, and whether you like it or not, you're learning about other stuff too.
Yeah.
That's right.
We're sorry. Yeah, I mean, there's like lots of references to different stuff in media.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the different like names he gives Max and everything. It always references something.
Right.
So that's really it about Warren, I guess. I mean, there is like stuff about like his spirit animal and symbolism, but I feel like that would be a good stuff to leave for now.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can touch on in a future episode where we talk about spirit animals and symbolisms and all that way.
Right.
Where we actually can read up on it, because right now we only know so much, so we need like time to prep if we're going to talk about spirit animals and shit. Which I feel like if we did an episode on that with like all the spirit animals from the game, it would be a pretty good episode.
It'd be cool to do. It would be.
Yeah.
It would be, yeah.
I want to know too how much of that is intentional and how much of that is like us like projecting that into the game.
Yeah, just conjecture.
Yeah. Because I mean, obviously there is like some level of like mysticism that is presented. It's not really delved upon because it's not really the focus, but there is some with everything that Sam says about Arcadia Bay, and you know, there's some level of mysticism there. But
I love Samuel.
Yeah, he's a really interesting character. I was really creeped out by him initially, but as time wore on, I was like, he's probably one of my favorite like side characters.
Yeah, he's great. But yeah, I think we definitely should do another segment about that at some point.
Definitely. That's really it, right? From what I can tell.
So.
Yeah. So
that's Warren.
We've got Everyday Heroes. Jamie.
Hi.
How you doing, man? Listen, I just started listening to the show, and I've heard you bumping around this thing that you call Everyday Heroes. What is that?
I hate you. So, Everyday Heroes is a segment that we have towards the end of the show where we highlight the community with the content it creates, which is cosplay, fan art, could be music, could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you send it in, we'll probably look it over on the show at some point. Now, Aaron, since this is your first week with the Everyday Heroes, why wouldn't you start us off?
I'd love to. Yeah, so this one's called Life is Strange Kiss. Don't hunt me down just yet. This doesn't have to be anything more than it is. We can appreciate it for a beautiful work of art. But yeah, I actually, so I was browsing DeviantArt just for, general... I wanted to get something Warren themed, obviously, and I came across this. Just a side note, this is by I think it's Deathen Girl. I'm probably butchering that name. Her gallery is gorgeous. If anybody has a chance to peruse it at some point, you definitely should, because she does amazing work. But I especially like this one. There's not a whole lot of Warren fan art from what I've seen, but I really like this one, not just because it has Max in it as well, but I like it for a few reasons. One, a lot of the pieces that I do are in charcoal, so I like that kind of really high contrast look. It's very it's dramatic, and it has a lot of like really intricate and beautiful strokes in it, and it's really dynamic. And I think that also speaks to the fact that I really like pictures that kind of tell a story. Mm-hmm. And with this one, it's like it's obvious. Like, we know what moment this is. This is in Polarized, where if you choose to kiss Warren, and then there's the Polaroid right there that you use to go back in time. So we know how it fits in with the story, but also, like, I think there's a lot of I'll try not to get too artsy fartsy on you guys, but
by all means,
I think there's a lot of it's really symbolic in a way, because you see the edges like in the hair and like just all around them, it's like pulling away. Everything is sort of disintegrating, and it really like it resembles in the game where the timelines are changing and everything's kind of fluid. And I love that, because like this particular moment is so fleeting and so quick that. And like I said before, even if you choose to do this, you're going back and rewriting history through this Polaroid. So it doesn't last. The only person it's real to really is Max. So it's like, I think that it represents a lot of like what the game is about. It's just, time is like this. I mean, I feel like I could directly quote Doctor Who here, but it's like just a wibbly wobbly big timey wimey thing. No, it's ever changing. You have control over what happens, or at least Max does, and I think that this was a really important point for her to realize that. And I love that the Polaroid was actually included in this picture, in this drawing. It means a lot, and I don't know, I think it says a lot, and I just love it. So I'm done gushing.
Yeah, it's a great piece of art, because it kind of shows like the value between memories, which can fade after a while, whilst like stuff like images and like pictures can just last for as long as you look after them, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a great way to actually explain this image.
Right.
And this is gonna sound really dumb. I just imagine this as like an ink blot painting with like, show Warren what does he see, and like what he wants in life.
We're shocked. Like,
yeah.
What is this block?
Oh, that's amazing.
What is this block? My destiny.
Yeah. No, that's a cat.
Whoops.
Yeah, I really do like the charcoal look to it, the contrast, the black and white. To just kind of parrot that. And it is interesting too, like you brought up, Aaron, like how it does have that kind of like wisping away, that fleeting, almost as if the image of it itself is like being destroyed, like we see in the games, where when the history rewrites and we see the different pictures.
Yeah.
So it is a very cool piece. Even if I am not a subscriber to that school of thought of them being together.
That's right. Well, that's why I picked it, because you can appreciate it beyond that. I also just love, like, just on a very basic note, I love the way that she captured them in the Polaroid. One, because they're so small, and I feel like it's hard to get that kind of detail. But I love Max's expression. It's like it's so spot on. And I don't know. I love it.
I really like the shading around the eyes as well for both Warren and Max, and in the larger front. Because it's really hard to get that gradient right.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
And they did.
And it's almost, I agree, and I think I would go so far as to say it's harder than doing a real life drawing, because like you're sketching out 3D rendered characters, which it's not the same at all, and it's the textures are like the key there, like getting that just right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is Death End Girl, or
Yeah.
something like that. However you pronounce it, it's really bad.
We're sorry.
And
Yeah, I think her name's Linda, but yeah, no, she's really good.
so check out
Yeah,
her
we,
work on DeviantArt.
Yeah, it's a good piece, and we are sorry if we are mispronouncing your name. It's something that we do here a lot, but
We need to like like have a warning at the beginning, like right after our spoiler warning about how we're gonna mispronounce names.
yeah, it's like we should probably just like message people when we're getting the artwork. It's like, hey, can you tell us how to pronounce your
What
name?
the
so we
fuck?
don't
Why
fuck it up?
why have we not done that? Like why is that just
know.
a revelation to us now? That's absolutely what we should have been doing.
Yeah,
Yeah, like list it like Webster's dictionary would, like with the lines and accents and stuff. Yeah.
I can't believe
we're idiots.
we've been doing this for almost 2 fucking years, and this just now dawned on us. Holy shit. Wow, okay, yeah, so hey, maybe we'll start pronouncing names right from now on.
Yay!
Well,
I've embarrassed myself just by thinking of that now. Anyway,
Sorry, guys. Yes.
moving on.
Jamie,
So,
your choice.
Yeah. Sorry, so this is a Warren cosplay by Daniel Yellow Rain, and yeah, Danny did a pretty fucking good job with the access that he had, because I think they got the shirt from Redbubble and the Chloe necklace from Amazon, and which is cool because I kind of like seeing this kind of way of Warren trying to live up to someone that Max idolizes, which is a bit weird. A bit of a weird analogy for Warren anyway, but since it's a Warren episode, hey ho.
Yeah.
Anything goes, right? Also like the touch of like the scruffiness of hair, because if I was Warren, I wouldn't really spend much time of attention just trying to make sure my hair looked neat. I'd probably just be like reading stuff.
if I was anyone
watching
ever,
movies.
because I don't care.
No.
I wear a hat all the time anyway, so.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Also the
I'm gonna plead the fifth here.
and
I mean, I
like,
brush my hair, but I don't.
I mean, yeah, but still, this.
But yeah, the scruffy look.
Yeah, the scruffy look as well as the additional black eye.
Yeah.
It's always a good thing to do with Warren. You can always definitely tell it's Warren with the cat shirt and the black eye. You just instantly know it's a Graham.
Yeah, it is a very cute cosplay.
Danny did a great job.
Yeah, and it's unique. You know, I feel like it's not like trying to be. I don't know. I don't know how to phrase it. I think it's like putting their own spin on it. Like especially with the necklace. Like I think that's like taking a bold step.
And I think that's a cool thing about cosplays, even though like you do like the liberties you can take.
Yeah, you can. It's like you can always be inspired by one character, but you could always put your own spin on it to make it your own.
Yeah,
which is clearly what's shown here, which is great.
I agree.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I really do. It sucks that Insert Coins Life is Strange stuff is like sold out. Because I did want to get the Schrodinger's cat. I really like that shirt.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I really wanted to get the. Wasn't there a Two Whales Diner shirt?
Yeah.
Oh man, was there?
Yeah, because I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get this. Just forgot about it. As soon as I said they stopped selling, I was like, fuck the Two Whales shirt.
Yeah, dude, that is a bummer. I have like a growing Life is Strange like t-shirt collection going on, and I would have loved that one.
I got the initial line.
Yeah. I think me and you, Joey, we're just getting shrines at this point, right?
Yeah. trying to build it up a little bit.
Yeah. It's not as creepy as Warren's Shrine of Max, though. But
Oh no, of course not.
anyway, we're going off a tangent. So yeah, thanks, Danny, for letting me use this your Warren cosplay for the Everyday Hero segment.
Yeah, awesome job. Thank you.
Joey.
So I too am using a Warren cosplay, and this is by Fairy G's on Instagram. I feel confident that I said Fairy G's.
Yeah,
right?
pretty sure you did.
Yeah.
This is another really good one. Another really good cosplay. Again, we see Warren in his iconic Schrodinger's cat shirt. The attention to detail is really great in this one too. The way the hair is styled and the black eye. I really love like the goofiness.
The shit-eating grin.
Yeah, because that is Warren. I mean, Warren is a goofy guy, and I say that in an endearing way.
Yeah, and like she does like a really good job of like putting on the shit-eating grin for Warren.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way you can describe it. Warren has a shit-eating grin.
But it's not only the shit-eating grin, but it's the body language. Like,
Yeah.
Like the way that she's hunched over. You know, like I think that's like it really ties everything together.
It's very intuitive of you, Aaron. Yeah. I derailed my own train of thought with this. Yeah, I would piggyback off what you said with the body language and all that. It really does encapsulate it well, and I think like that is what I like seeing the most in cosplay is when people like become the character, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Become the Warren.
It seems like this. Oh, this is gonna sound dumb, but hear me out. This seems like if there was a Blackwell yearbook, it would be like a picture of Warren, like someone taking a picture of Warren pretending to work, but he's just like too kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It's
definitely
like,
can see that.
It's like what am I supposed to do? Oh, you took the picture already?
Yeah, no, that's pretty spot on actually. That's probably like the picture they like sign next to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's a good one.
It is a good one. So thank you very much, Fairy G's, for letting us use it, and awesome job as well.
Yes. And if you would like your artwork, cosplay, music, or whatever in the Everyday Hero segment, you can just send it to us through email at blackwellpodcast@hotmail.com. Tweet it to us at blackwellpdcast on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Send it to us on Instagram, Blackwell Podcast. Tumblr,
Blackwell Podcast.
.tumblr.com. There's a form on Life is Strange Fans which you can just follow and just submit the link there.
Right.
Make sure it's your own artwork if you do, please.
Yeah. Actually, I think you don't even have to be a member of LASF to submit to us. I don't think.
No.
I'm not 100% sure, but I might.
That's all social media, right?
Yeah, for now, Facebook is coming up soon.
Oh, and Discord on our Discord server.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Discord.
yeah.
And yeah. That's about it, right? For Everyday Heroes, right?
Yeah.
Alright, let's move into some announcements that we have.
Yes. Yeah.
Alright, so this is going to be kind of like housekeeping in a way where we're going to be announcing what the future episodes are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start off with next week. We're kind of cutting it a little bit close with our 2-week usual episodes, which is because apart from our 2-week schedule, we're going to throw in some interviews in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we are doing. This is going to be a little bit different. Our interview coming up next week. This is more in-house for our new co-hosts to get an opportunity. So we are not taking fan questions this go around. That is not something that we are doing away with just for this particular one. We're doing it just in-house with our co-hosts. Still working on some other big interviews, especially we have to. We're still waiting on the big Michelle, Luke, and Raul
Yeah.
But of course, they are busy
with the announcement that came out.
Busy bees with
Life is Strange 2.
Yeah.
We'll probably do an episode of that in the future. Just don't know when.
Yeah, we're gonna wait till after E3 and see. Yeah. We know they said that there won't be anything at E3, but we'll see. Either way.
Should we say who the interview is next week, by the way? Because we didn't say.
Yeah.
I've been dying.
Okay, so yeah, next Saturday we are going to be bringing back Hannah on the show.
Yeah.
And just it's going to be all the entire co-host team.
Mm-hmm.
Just going to be talking to Hannah about her experiences with the game and the past. I'm guessing since we'll do about 2 years since episode 1 came out, I guess.
Yeah, and she's actually had the opportunity to sit down and play episodes 1 and 2.
Yep.
So, there's a little bit more to talk about. But yeah, like I said, this is just, we are not taking fan questions this go around. But that doesn't mean that we won't in the future. So
this is just pretty much a one-off. Okay. So the 20. Hang on. I'm trying to remember if that's shit. I'm getting my dates wrong. So be the week afterwards, which is the 17th, right?
Yes.
Which Sean will be on with us, with me and Joey, and we'll be doing an episode on Victoria Chase, which we haven't done before.
Yeah, we wanted to. That's kind of what our Vortex Club was, but now that we have Sean with us and her input, we'll be able to do a full episode on Victoria.
Yeah. That'll be interesting.
So that'll be cool to do. Big thing is coming up soon. We're doing our LGBTQ plus episode in regards to Life is Strange. There's still 3 spots available if you want to come on the show and talk about it. And then, of course, you can still submit to us if you have something you want to say but you don't want to come on. And if you just have something to say but you want to be anonymous, you can do that as well.
Yes. Just make sure you want to be anonymous just by saying in the message to us, so we make sure we don't say anything that you're uncomfortable with.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing we'll try and get that out by the end of July at the latest.
Yeah, we'll probably record mid-July, and then because if it goes according to plan, we'll have quite a bit of people on and all that, so it'll take a little bit longer to edit. But so that next month, toward the end of the month, will be probably when that comes out. So we'll say a deadline for submitting is
maybe when the Victoria episode is released. 2 weeks, maybe.
Let's give it a little bit longer than that.
Okay. How about the 8th?
Yeah, we'll say the 8th of July.
Okay. All right, 8th of July. Okay, so just send everything you'd like to our email, blackwellpodcast@hotmail.com. Private message us on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, Discord. Just message us that way, and yeah, that's kind of it about the LGBTQ episode.
Mm-hmm.
So it may take a bit of a while because we want to get that episode right.
Yeah,
as well.
For sure.
Oh man, you know what? Also, let's rewind a little bit. I want to give a big shout out to Rowan for Rowan. I don't know. I'm really bad at names. Anyway, but what I want to give a shout out for is she recently hit her millionth word count in fan fiction, and fan fiction is something we've been looking at trying to figure out how to do for EDH and stuff like that. We're just not really sure because it's going to kind of lose some of the touch if we read it. So I think for now we'll just try to do some notable mentions and all that. But anyway, big shout out to her. That's huge. A million words is a fucking lot. So that's awesome.
Congratulations.
And if you are a fan fiction writer and you have something you want us to read, and give some shout outs and all that, you can also submit that to us as well.
Yeah.
I meant to say that during the EDH segment, but
it's fine. I mean, it's just something that we haven't really spoke about fan fiction on Everyday Heroes, so it's kind of good that we're putting it out there.
yeah.
So yeah. So I'm guessing I will say that the reason why we don't really have fan fiction on Everyday Heroes is because it's very hard to summarize a fan fiction
Mm-hmm.
whilst trying to show it to people on YouTube or through audio format. It's kind of hard.
Right.
Unless we read a segment or something from it, which it doesn't give the entire story of it, which...
Yeah, just like a little teaser.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we just... Yeah, we'll work it out in the future, though.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, so basic summary. Next week is Hannah, the Hannah Tell episode. The week after will be the Victoria Chase episode.
Mm-hmm.
And the deadline for the LGBTQ episode will be on the 8th of June. 8th July. Fuck, I forgot it was June. So yeah, that's really all the housekeeping thing that we have, right?
I think so, yeah.
Except, well, we kind of have to mention the Patreon.
Yeah. Give us money.
Done deal.
In simple terms, it's basically Patreon is it's a monthly service where you pay a certain amount for a tier, and it helps support the show.
Mm-hmm.
We're mainly just doing this to cover subscription costs like SoundCloud,
Mm-hmm.
Adobe Premiere, all that stuff, and everything that we make after the subscription fees and whatnot, we're going to be donating to charity.
Right.
So we're still sticking by. We're not making any money by this. We're doing what we can.
Right. It helps us cover our costs that
Yes.
we are kind of unable to cover right now. So our goal is $40 a month, and that covers, like I said, the subscriptions that we have to our services. And then anything after that goes to currently Trevor Project.
Yep. It's a great cause.
And then that will be changing every 3 months.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we've only got the $1 tier.
Mm-hmm.
On Patreon right now is because we feel like we're not comfortable really taking, asking for a ton of money.
Right.
So kind of $1 is just kind of the limit that we're comfortable with. Hey, please.
Right.
So basically, from what I can remember, I'm not on the Patreon because I'm forgetful like that. It's basically you'll get your name in the credits of every episode. Mm-hmm. You'll I think we're doing Hangouts, right?
Yeah.
In the future, for Google Hangouts, where you get to talk to us. You get an exclusive role in the Discord, and you'll be able to learn news early as well from whenever we hear from stuff and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really it about Patreon. Sorry for advertising ourselves, but we got to do it nonetheless. So that's really it for this episode, right, guys? I mean, I think that's everything covered from Warren, Everyday Heroes, and then the housekeeping.
Yeah.
We have...
I think that's it.
Effectively gone ape.
Ooh.
So...
Okay.
We will see you all next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.